hear all the
Okay.
cicadas. I have many friends out tonight.
I hear them.
Okay, cool. So we just got this started. I was going to leave like a few more minutes. Sorry about the cicadas, everybody. If you got a chance to watch my most recent video, it's basically me being like, this video is sponsored by cicadas. So,
Yeah.
all right. Well, cool. We've got some folks on here. I especially wanted to go live with the most wonderful person who led me through a very, very enlightening past life regression. So if you would please introduce yourself and tell us about yourself.
Oh, thank you. Hi, everybody. My name is Myra, and I'm a hypnotherapist with Soul Sign Hypnosis. So I specialize in past life regression as well as quantum healing hypnosis, which the late, great Dolores Cannon, basically, she came up with that technique. So I do that as well. I'll talk a little bit more about that, about what that is. Do you want me to do that now?
That's exactly what I was like. Oh. Okay, let's explain that, because I didn't know what that was when you first told me.
Yes. So Dolores Cannon wrote many, many books. She really is a pioneer when it comes to past life regression. And through trial and error, she really discovered a way of really taking you to the deepest level of hypnosis. And in a QHHT session, you're able to, are you able to hear me okay?
Yep. I don't think my AirPods like you, because this happened in the middle of our session too.
Okay.
I was just like, because I know it's annoying, so I was just like, okay, go on, please. Sorry.
Okay. No. Yes. No worries. Yeah. So in a QHHT session, you basically go through multiple lives. And because we're working with the deepest level of hypnosis, it is common to see experiences outside of planet Earth. Okay. So in my past life regressions, chances are that you're probably going to see lives here on Earth. But I will tell you, through this ascension, some of my past life regressions are taking you to other planets, other realms. And it's just, there's no limitations, no matter what session you choose, whether it is Dolores Cannon's QHHT or just a basic past life regression. You will love it. You will love the experience no matter what.
I will second that. Yes. Something I wanted folks to know was, and you mentioned this as well when we were setting up the session, was that it's best for your higher self to choose for you as far as what life you go into. And I thought my higher self would want me to see another life of mine, that I thought something had been like left undone or something.
Yeah.
And go figure, I popped into the life that I did pop in on, which was fascinating. I mean, it was unexpected. Like, we were kind of talking earlier today on George is a part of my life, but it's not like he's the part of my life. And so I thought that, if I was to meet somebody, I'd meet somebody, I guess, who was still in the physical skin suit. So
yes,
but it was
I hear
cool.
you. Yeah. Yeah. So what I always tell my clients is that don't put so much emphasis into, what you're about, where you're about to go, what your journey is. Just trust. And as you lead up to your session, I always give you tips for the best. I know, Rebekah, you received an email from me to prepare your body and your mind. All of that comes along with it. And just trust. But it's interesting. Your guides, your higher self, they have a sense of humor. Okay. And that is why they chose that. Honestly, it's like, that's funny. And they know what you're doing. They know what you're doing with this, with your TikTok and your stories. And, it's so entertaining. People love it. And you've reached so many people. You've touched so many people. And they just said, here, we're going to give you a gift. You know, we're going to give you a gift. And you know what, Rebekah, if you want to try another one where you see something where you really, really learn, yeah, you've had many lives that you can explore.
For sure.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Now, and this actually leads into something else that we had talked about, how I had told you, like, I had done meditations in the past or like group led sort of thing. So, what do you do? I mean, I have an idea, but I don't think everybody else does. What do you do that is different from like something that, you know, they could just get online and like just a meditation sort of thing? How are you different?
That's a great question. Yeah. And yes, there are some things that you can explore on YouTube. Everyone knows that. But the difference is you're not guided, right? So you're just sort of laying there. You're listening to what the audio says, and you're probably seeing pictures. They're taking you to scenes. But once you're in the scene, it's like, now what? Right? All right, you're seeing it. The difference is when you have a guide, such as myself, I'm the investigator, right? We dig deep and we ask those questions to really reveal who you are, what you are. Not only that, what you're feeling, what you're sensing. So it's so amazing. It's like a burger, right? And you're just going to have a piece of meat, right? So with a guide, you're putting the lettuce, the tomatoes, the onions, all the condiments, and it's like it just adds that much more. And we really tap in to making that connection, making that connection. How is this past life helping me today?
Mm-hmm.
And I will say your guidance and your higher self, that's what they want. You know, they want to show you something that will help you in the very best way. There's so many people that are feeling lost now, you know, not really knowing what their purpose is. So I'll give you an example. Recently there was a woman that came. She was very corporate job, okay, but she just wasn't happy. She's feeling it in her gut. Her chakras are saying, hello, listen. And so she started taking some Reiki classes, some of those Ayurvedic classes to learn more about, spirit. And she still doubted herself. She was like, yeah, but I'm in corporate. I make good money. And it's like, how am I being pulled over here? And so we did a past life regression. And what they showed her was a life where her grandmother and her mother, they were all medicine women living in the woods in a tiny little house, working with herbs. And people would come and see them in secret. Okay. And it was what they were showing her is giving her that encouragement to follow your gut. You're on the right track. Look at what you've done in the past. That corporate thing, that isn't you. You're not happy. You're not happy. Let it go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and not everyone's ready to just shed something like that. You've got to step into it. Sometimes it's gradual. I myself, mine was gradual. I didn't do this full time. Now I am. Mm-hmm. But for those that are being called, trust your instinct.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's something too. And I feel like there could be this kind of misconception when people look at like the idea of past lives. They might see, okay, but that was in the past, like it might be cool to look at, but I mean, what am I supposed to learn from that? And I think something helpful that a friend of mine does is they do like tarot spreads for past lives, basically. And the spread allows you to kind of see different lessons along the way. And for me, I like in part of my regression, I know you asked me things like, what lesson is there, what decision is there, what, just these things that when I looked back on the video, I could still learn from and be like, okay, this went far beyond just seeing, you know, somebody I recognized. Which, by the way, friends, George was not the only one I recognized. I saw a few of my friends who I don't think any of you know on here. So I have other
Yeah.
friends.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
It is.
oh, go on.
So what's your question? Sorry, what's the question? I know you were leading up to a question.
Yeah. I mean, it has something to do with, okay, well, how about this is one more question for you on like what your work and what you've learned over time.
Yeah.
Can you think of like a time where you had somebody who was really searching, like kind of like what you were talking about just now, on an answer or clarity or a reason why they felt something or a reason why they feared something, and how the regression was able to help them kind of understand that a little bit more?
Okay, so I have the perfect example that some of you, that if you are following me at Soul Sign Hypnosis, okay, so I have a client that started, she purchased like a package that I offer. It's called the Soul Exploration Package, and it gives you 2 appointments, and it starts with a past life regression, and then maybe a month later you move into a quantum healing, or beyond quantum healing. And you know that the beyond quantum healing can be conducted online. Okay, so she got the package, and on the first day, we took her through a past life, and her past life is sampled in my profile. If you look at she was basically an African woman. It was hard. It was a hard life. The past can be dark and ugly. Okay, I mean, we've been through it. So she was in Africa, and she was imprisoned in a village, and they took her baby, and you can actually hear her tell. It's like that she was so emotional when they took her baby, and shortly after, I mean, they ended up burning her in her little hut, and it's pretty awful. But from there, you know, as a trained professional, I say all the right things to be the observer. You're not going through this again. You're not going to feel pain, okay? You're just an observer. It's like you're watching a movie. Are you going to feel emotion? Yes. But if it gets to be where you're overwhelmed, allow me as your guide to pull you back, okay? And I give you space for that. Just pull back. You don't have to feel, just take all the emotions out of it. And under hypnosis, whatever I say, you actually do it. So you just sort of take a breath and you remove it. The beauty is, from there, that being her last day of her life, with which Rebekah also went through her last day of her life, I have your guide meet you and greet you. So you're basically now traveling with your guide, and you get to have a conversation with your guide. Well, her guide was a beautiful being from Lyra, and all of a sudden she starts to full on channel her guide. Voice changed. I knew I was no longer speaking to her. Okay. This was maybe a couple months ago, maybe 3 months ago. And so now, literally, the session opened a door, or opened a portal for her. She is a channel, a full body channel, and she's so incredible now. She's just started her own TikTok. Her and I do some practice channeling, and she is now giving messages from her Lyran guide, and she is starting to also channel others' guides. She actually just did a sample for me yesterday. She just blew me away. And that's just off of, one past life regression. And, here she is, just so gifted and didn't know it.
Yes, I love that. Yes,
Yeah.
I'm going to move into the van because we have a little bit of sound protection in here because these cicadas are next level. So 2 things from what you said that Oh my goodness, they're so loud. I'm not even in the worst part of the cicada crazy thing right now. Okay. And I'm just going to turn off the fan. Okay, for everybody who wanted to see the front of my bus, there you go. But yeah, one with the emotional part, how you were talking about, you know, how it's a safer way to have that. Because I remember I was getting really emotional when, let's see,
You actually cut out, you cut out for me the last like minute. It like froze. So I don't know if it's on me or you.
Probably me.
But I didn't catch any of that. Okay.
Probably me. Probably because my internet was
right.
like, okay, are we switching to the van now? Or are we switching out of the bus? Is that what's happening?
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to set this up here. I'm going to pull out my fridge real quick.
Mm-hmm.
The fridge is also a seat. That's why I'm talking about pulling out a fridge.
Okay.
Tiny life.
All right.
Not for everybody. Okay. So, yes, with the emotional part of the regression, I imagine some people might feel like fear on maybe going to a regression if they feel like they have some kind of trauma or something in their life. But just like what you said with this example, I felt like in my own regression, I had some very sad things come up. I mean, I was dealing with death. I was dealing with some abuse. But all of that, I never felt like I was succumbing to the emotions. I could feel them, but they never were as overpowering as they would have been in that life.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think that also says something on why actually working with a hypnotist, one-on-one, or I suppose in even a small group, but primarily one-on-one, is you have someone who's directly connected with what you're going through. Whereas like with a meditation or something, sometimes the person leading it may move on to something before you're ready and like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Oh, what else was I going to say? There was the
emotion. It's very personal. It is very personal.
Yes.
You know, that the time that we spend together is very, very personal. And I've been doing this 23 years. So it, you know, I'm a very good interviewer.
Yes.
Right. So I ask really, really great questions, you know, because I'm curious, and that's what's necessary to really pull that from you is great questions.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
You're also very patient, which is very important.
Yeah.
Now I'm getting some questions from folks, and I don't want to leave people hanging. So while I'm looking up questions, do you want to give a little bit of information on how people can find you?
Yeah, of course. So here on TikTok, I don't know if you all can see my my @ but it's Soul Sign Hypnosis. So give me a follow there. On Instagram, I am Soul Sign Hypnosis as well. And my website is soulsigns.net. You go on soulsigns.net. You can also look at the services. You can book a consultation as well if you're confused about what service you should place. So yeah, just book it. It's all on Zoom. Okay.
Which was also very helpful because we are not on the same side of the continent. So.
Yeah. And you know what I always tell people, it's like some people are like, yeah, I'm really a touchy feely. I need to see you. And it's like, then you need to find someone that, you know, does this work. But I will say that through the pandemic, you know, this sort of forced a lot of practitioners to have to go online to make a living. And what I found is that you guys are more comfortable at home, right? In your bed, on your couch, with your pillow. This is where you feel most comfortable. So it adds a layer of comfort, which really helps to deepen the hypnosis. So you are much more relaxed. That's just my opinion. When you come in person, if you do live, you know, in Southern California, I do see people here, but I find that with traffic and then the drive and all, some people drive 2-3 hours to get to me. That's not the best way to, get yourself ready to just relax. So that just adds a layer of, I'm going there. Oh my God, what's going to happen? And right. So yeah. So Zoom is great. Thank you, Zoom. It's been wonderful. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So one question I think is very good is somebody asked, how do dreams play into past lives? Are they connected? Are they not connected? What are some telltale signs? What do you have to say about that?
Yes, sometimes. Yeah. Dreams are just so cool. And I'll share real quick, because sometimes your dreams are, your parallel lives. Okay. Other timelines. When you see yourself, you are there, but you're with people you don't even know. You don't even recognize who are these people. And you're like very lucid, wondering, oh my God, okay, I know I'm here, but who are these people? Seriously, different timelines when there's that confusion. Okay. But I had a recent visit. I've been ask your guides. I swear they really want to give you these gifts. And so I said, okay, I'm ready to see another timeline. And I think I asked a few times. And then when I was relaxed enough one night, all of a sudden, I saw myself in this dream walking towards a car. And I open the car and I see a man at the driver's seat. And I look at him and he was very sullen and kind of grumpy. And I felt like I was my normal bubbly self. And I'm saying, I love you. I'm telling him, it's like I knew he was my husband. And then I realized, holy cow, this is very lucid. He's my husband. And then I started to really check him out. I mean, I was like looking at him up and down, his profile, his legs, khaki pants, his legs were shorter. And I'm telling him, I love you, I love you. And he looked at me and he said, he was so specific. He says, yeah, you're not the one who was forced to retire from the police department, forced to, because of an injury. And I'm like, oh God, I'm married to this person in another,
Yeah.
get me out of here. Right? Yeah. So dreams take you to different timelines. Just ask, really ask. And another question you had in regards to that was, yes, they play into sometimes your past lives. I had a client recently that said, I have had, especially the recurring ones, the ones that keep coming. Those are definitely memories from a past life. She saw herself, she was stabbed in a European town, little city. She was with a friend and someone comes up and starts stabbing her. That's all she sees over and over and over. She probably saw it 6 or 7 times. And, when you mentioned about should we direct them to that past life or just allow the higher self to choose? In this case, we just didn't set the intention. They took her to that life. We didn't know it was that life. She saw herself. She was a very talented, she was really into horses, talented rider. And she did competitions. So she was like a ribbon winner, of I don't know what you call it.
Yeah.
An equestrian, right?
Yeah.
And and she was had money, forced to marry someone she didn't love, but learned to care for him. Mm-hmm. She did learn to care for him. And they had money, several homes, and towards the end, we got through all of these important days, important decisions. Towards the end, on the last day of her life, she was in that city walking with a friend, and a man comes up behind her and puts the knife in her chest, exactly the way she saw in her recurring dreams. So what this is the guidance saying, we want to give you closure. of what you've been seeing. She didn't have to ask. They just said, let's give you the whole picture. Mm-hmm. Right? So I think that's really cool. And is there more for her? Of course. There's other lives to explore, but in that case, she got to see the whole thing.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Is it, I've heard this before, that for some, whether doing like a meditation or seeing in dreams, it's common to see the last moments of somebody's life, especially if they're more traumatic. Would you say that's true, or what in your experience?
Can you repeat that?
Yeah. So I've heard that it's common to sometimes see the last moments of somebody's life, either in doing a meditation or maybe seeing it in dreams, especially if it's a bit more traumatic, like an ending that happened a bit sooner than expected. Would you say that's common, or what would you say about that?
I don't know. That I don't know. There are some people that, have had, if I'm understanding the question, I'm not sure. I don't really have experience in knowing that.
I respect the honesty there.
Yeah. Yeah.
One question, and I'm actually going to pick my phone up because I know that my mic is kind of covered because it's on a counter. So one question I did want to quickly answer as it pertains to a little bit of ghosty stuff, and I wanted to hear what your thoughts were as well. Somebody asked, basically, why is George a ghost and why was I reincarnated? And I think the two parts of that is that the George that we know from the courthouse was George's next life, as far as I know. In the timeline, that's about how it would work, if that's a thing. But also, I've said this before, George, he's, from all that I know of him, he is very, very happy at the courthouse. He loves the drama, and right now he loves the attention. So yeah, I think about like my past life regression session and what I learned from that, and I don't foresee that past life of mine feeling like there's a necessary, like a need to really stick around and be like a haunting. And I think that's why that happens, so to speak. I mean, I think it's a personal choice for each soul how long they stay in one place and as what. What would you say about that?
Yeah. So, okay. So let's say that you could also have been in the lifetime with George as someone. We haven't explored that. We don't know. Okay. For whatever reason, sometimes spirits stay back. Okay. There are many reasons why they would. It could be, I don't know anything about George other than watching some of your videos. Okay. And how did he die? Was it traumatic? Right. So sometimes when it's traumatic, or when they are attached, attachment is huge. Was it sudden? Were they murdered? Things like that sometimes creates them to ground and stay. Okay. So that's all I can say. I don't know why George is where he's at. Okay. No one really knows that, right? But he's there, and yeah, it's, that's pretty much my answer on that. Is, who knows why he's chosen it, but he's comfortable. He's comfortable and he likes it.
And that's what matters. Yeah. I always tell people, I'm like, hey, we don't have to shove everybody into the light or whatever we call it. What, how about we try to help them be in a clear state of mind so that they can make that decision on their own? Right. Something you've brought up a few times about different dimensions, right? And for anybody who might be confused on how that might work, I recommend watching the first episode of Loki. I don't know if you have yet. Have you? Okay.
No.
So I have learned, as far as like metaphorically speaking, I've learned a lot from watching the Marvel universe. I don't know
Okay.
who on their team is connected, but somebody's got to be. When I talk about shielding, I always say, okay, go check out Doctor Strange for a visual. And when I talk about, if I'm ever to really talk about multiple dimensions, I'm going to be like, look, the first episode of Loki, you don't have to know what's going on, but they explain it through a cartoon. It is easy to understand.
Yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm going through some questions. How about this? As I'm going through some questions again, because I know we have some new people or different people who have just signed on. Can you tell us again how to reach you?
Yes. Hi, everybody, and welcome. I'm Myra with Soul Sign Hypnosis, and you can find me here on TikTok and Instagram at Soul Sign Hypnosis. And you can visit my website, soulsigns.net. And there is an option there for a consultation. It's 15-minute consultation, either by phone or Zoom. But it's really, the consultation is really meant to, because I get some people that just want to talk. Some people just want to talk about it. So it's really to go through the website, read it, understand this work. And if you're confused about what you want to schedule, book the consultation. And then I can break it down for you and tell you what I think might work for you.
And yeah, I love that option too, because I for one loved being able to speak with you before just like jumping into this. I tell people, those who are interested in anything spiritually speaking, I feel like it's so important to have some kind of just good feeling or good connection with the person you're working with. Otherwise, you're going to go into it closed and be like, well, I mean, we'll see if this works. I mean, it's a mindset thing.
Yes. And let me just say that if you are someone that you really want to do this in person, that's great. But definitely talk to a few people before you decide. I just talked to someone from Kuwait. We Zoomed from Kuwait, and she had someone that, she worked online, and she wasn't able to go deep. She just wasn't able to get there. Right. So I think it's really, she says that she felt rushed. And so it's really important that, to have that time and to feel that there's a connection. You really need to trust your practitioner. When there's trust, then you let go, and letting go is so important. In fact, I wanted to ask you if you knew if you knew that someone was doing this work, what advice would you give them?
As far as like opening up or seeking someone?
Yes.
Okay.
They're about to have a session. What advice do you give them to when going in? Yes.
Well,
especially for the ones that are fearful and, they work themselves up a little bit.
Yeah.
What would you say?
Okay. So, to the best of one's ability, I'm always very tied to spiritual health is mental health is physical health. And what I appreciated with what you were talking about when you initially sent me just the things of like, hey, like consider doing this, get a good night's sleep, but you also included things like diet. And for anybody who's like, oh my God, I hate salads, not that kind of diet. Okay. It's stuff like alcohol. You don't want to be doing that because it messes with your mental health, at least for this amount of time, right? Or heavy meats. That's another thing. In my practice, I don't eat any meat at all, though that's my practice. I think when you're preparing to open yourself up, I think you described it as eating heavy meats can ground you a bit too much. So you want to,
Totally.
yeah, like you can still, I think you mentioned, like no red meat, primarily, maybe like fish or
Pork.
something. Yeah.
Yeah. Avoid pork and beef.
Yeah.
Okay. If you do need to eat a little protein, if you've got to do that, then, do some chicken, right? Or fish.
Yeah.
And, but yes, I mean, think about it, guys, alcohol, and even smoking, anybody who smokes pot, that's all good. But when you're going into this type of work, all of that is grounding. It's going to make you heavy. And when you're going into this type of work where we want you to fly, right? We just want you so relaxed, high vibration. All of those things should be avoided. And I usually keep it to 5 days. And it's funny how some people that book, they cheat, and then they'll call me, and because they'll start to feel guilty. And they'll text me or call me and say, oh my God, I had a glass of wine. And it's like, well, how many glasses? Or, oh, it's my birthday tomorrow and I'm going out with the girls. And it's like, we need to reschedule. Yeah. Have fun. Let's just reschedule. But you will be disappointed if you do have those cocktails, if you have that hamburger, okay? And if you have coffee in the morning and come to see me, we're not going anywhere. Yeah. So those tips, I'm just really, really, I believe in them. And because they work, they work. So there you go.
And with going off of that, so that's more of the physical side of health, sleeping as well, involved in that. Mental health, you don't want to just stop taking your medicine or not see your therapist or something like that, or doing the things that are necessary. You want to be,
right.
I think about how I used to be very plagued with anxiety, and how my anxiety would like get into my brain, and it would just be like almost like words were coming so fast, it was like buzzing, and I couldn't open up. I couldn't hear like my higher self. So once again, the mental side of that, to the best of one's ability, of course. And then I think the spiritual side of that is to simply put the intention out there, put it out there of saying, hey, I want this to happen for my better self. Like I'm, even when people are looking for various practitioners, just to say, wake up in the morning and be like, okay, I know I need this. I'm looking for this. Whoever's out there, whatever's out there that's good and for my best self-interest, please lead me on that journey so that I can better myself.
Yes. That's beautiful.
Yay. I had a really great question from somebody, and I'm trying to find it. So I'm not seeming to have luck, but I'm going to try to say it as best as they did, which is basically, is it possible to have like splitting lives, or like they said it so much better than I am. Maybe
Parallel.
like parallel, or like living two different lives at the same time, then they both kind of sync up in you at a later date. Like, does that make sense?
Okay. Oh, I'm excited to give you this story. Okay. So let's talk about parallel lives. And I'm going to tell you that they're not as common, okay, in a session. But I'm going to give you an example of why the higher self chose to show them a parallel. I feel like the guidance protects the parallel life a little. They don't want to cause confusion. That's their journey, right? Okay. So there was a gentleman in his 30s that came to see me for a QHHT session, quantum healing hypnosis. This is Dolores Cannon's technique. All right, so he comes to see me, and we spend 2 hours talking before the session. This is a very lengthy I do one QHHT session. I give you guys the day. The longest literally has been 6-7 hours. Okay. But the average, I would say, is 4.5. So we talked for a couple of hours, and then he was at a crossroads in his life where he was thinking of doing a career change, more money in Canada. And he was like, do I go? Do I stay? And it was just, And so he really wanted to have this session, connect with his higher self, which we do in a QHHT. So he was shown a life in World War II. And that's on my, if you go through my list on TikTok, you'll find a sample of his session where he talks about, it was his job kind of to move the bodies, right? World War II. He ended up having a military career for the rest of his life. All right. Then the second life was so interesting. I moved him to a second life, and he's on an airplane. And of course, my head's going, oh, he's a pilot, right? It's like, no. He goes, no, I'm actually a passenger. I'm a passenger on this plane, and the plane is very modern. So even though he's relaxed, he was a little confused. He goes, like, I'm looking at the fashion and the people that are sitting on the plane, and he goes, yeah. And I said, let's move ahead. Where he goes, I feel like I'm traveling for work. I'm traveling. And then he checks into a hotel, and he's pulling out his keys and this. And he goes, I just put a cell phone on the dresser at the hotel. He goes, but it's like one of those old flip phones. Okay. All right. He goes, I'm feeling that this is very like 90s, very early 90s, somewhere in the 90s, whenever flip phones were. The point is, he was able to this man was older, in his 40s, but he was able to go in there. He knew everything about this man living in Denver, had a beautiful wife, 2 kids that don't talk to dad because all dad does is travel. And he was talking about how he doesn't connect with his kids. He even said, yeah, they're on this Facebook thing. And I don't know when Facebook, maybe early 2000s. Okay. Whenever that was. Sorry, it's been a while, but he says this new thing, this social media, and they're on there, and where people put their pictures, and it makes you look like everything is perfect. He goes, but in my home, no one talks to anybody. He goes, I make a lot of money. I take them on beautiful vacations, but no one talks to anybody, and we're not close. And he was digging and unraveling, and it's like, I feel like, later, of course, he has to make the connection. I don't do it for him, but what we discussed was that job in Canada. Okay. This is why they showed him this parallel life. This is going to be your future if you go for the money. Okay. Because what he wanted to do was stay here and go into MMA, training children or kids. Yeah. Like, yes. So that's what he felt here in his gut. Like, I really want to do this, but the money's in Canada. And I think them showing him this parallel life where it was quite modern, just a different timeline. Okay. Gave him the answer to trust that, okay, you can go that way and it's your choice. You want the money? There you go. But know that you're sacrificing a lot with family, your future family that doesn't exist yet. Or you stay here and do what your heart desires.
Wow.
Is
fascinating. Yes.
Yeah. Like I said, the
parallel
lives they're not as common. But he was at that point where it was like, they're offering him the job. This was SOS. And his guidance said, we got to show him, what's waiting for him. We need to connect those and make him understand what will follow in Canada. Right.
Yes.
So,
wow. I love this.
So yeah, there's a lot of deep reflection that comes in these sessions. You don't get them sometimes right away. My clients, usually they go home and they sit with this, and it's like I follow up with them, and it's like, I love their testimonies when they do come, because they're so profound. You need to spend a little time with, what is revealed.
Yeah. I'm seeing some people talk about, the whole parallel life concept is new to them. And it's relatively new to me as well. It's only really when I started to open up more spiritually that I started to have experiences, either other dimensional stuff, and it was just like random stuff. It was like one time I had a memory of a conversation with a friend of mine about Cthulhu. And I was talking with another person. We were going to see that friend. And then we saw the friend, and I referred to the conversation that I remembered having in the car that same day. And I said the location and everything like that. And the person who I was in the car with looked at me like I was insane. They were like, "What are you talking about? That never happened." And I was like explaining it. I was like, but we were on the bridge and there was a thing. And then what was crazy was my other friend who had the Cthulhu connection. My other friend was like, "I've told 2 people about that whole thing Cthulhu related, and you were not one of them. What are you? What?"
Wow. Wow. Yeah.
But also the parallel life thing is just equally fascinating. That's the thing. The more I have my mind blown, the more fascinating life becomes, because I feel like I'm on a ride right now of being like, well, learn this today.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm getting some questions here too. I don't know if you're seeing them. Yeah, and some people are asking about sessions and pricing. Please visit soulsigns.net. That's my website. You can if you hit the book a session, it's all there, all the prices and so just so you know, what Rebekah had is the basic past life regression is $125. Okay. But there are some other options. I do even a life between lives, which is beautiful. It takes you to the afterlife. You see the past life, and it's an extension of past life regression, and it just keeps going. You get to meet your spirit guide, and you do a life review. You see your soul family, and then you also get to stand in front of the Council of Light. It's elders. Oh my gosh, it's a stunning session. It's beautiful. Rebekah, you would do really great with that. That'll be next for you.
I love that.
Yes.
Like, talk about having a mind-blowing experience. Be like, "Hi, everybody."
Yeah. But when you're there, it's all familiar.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're in this state, and it's like, even when you're in front of your guide and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm home, and it's all very familiar. And this truly, the life between lives does take complete surrender, fully trusting. I don't recommend it for someone that is nervous about hypnosis, which I want to talk about when you feel is a good time to talk about fears.
Okay. Yes. Yeah, I don't know if you can see some of my fingers across, because I'm like, I gotta note that. I gotta note this. Fears, yes. How about a question first, and then we can go into that, which is, and I'm seeing some people asking kind of what is hypnosis, and kind of backpacking on that. I'd also like to add, we were talking about this a little bit earlier today, talking about difference in practitioners and differences in gifts. And I'll go ahead and say, I know one of your gifts is hypnosis. I don't think that's one of mine, at least not right now. Mm-hmm. So, we're practitioners in our own sense, but they are different. So can you explain hypnosis? Can you explain how you would describe yourself as a practitioner, if we're using that word?
Yeah, I consider myself more of a spiritual hypnotherapist. Mm-hmm. I went through the American Board of Hypnosis I'm dating myself, 23 years ago. And, back then, people didn't believe in this. I was super in the closet. It's not a topic that I could really talk about. And, I would just practice on friends, and I would have to actually go to metaphysical bookstores to put myself out there and say, this is who I am. This is what I can do. And It'd be fun. I would do like group, maybe 15 people would show up and we would do a group hypnosis and I would guide people through past life. From there, if someone wanted a personal, private, one-on-one, that's how it worked. But times changed, right? So what is hypnosis? Guys, hypnosis is a focus of attention. You are doing it right now. If you are on here and you are listening to my explanation, your mind is already shifting from ordinary consciousness to alpha. Now, there are different levels of alpha. Right now, it's probably a light level, but anytime you are focused, watching TV, doing the dishes, reading, studying, when you're really focused, that is hypnosis, okay? So these level meditation, hypnosis, okay? We just don't call it that. We call it meditation, but it's the same thing. The brain is doing the same thing. It's shifting, okay? It is shifting. So I do work with the deepest level, which is a very deep alpha and theta, okay? Theta state is another natural thing that you do twice a day, okay? So when you go to bed every night, your mind, you're awake, and then you close your eyes and you start going through these phases. You go into the alpha, a little middle alpha, and then a deeper alpha. Then your mind goes to theta. Theta is a cool place to be. Your mind is shut off. Your mind is no longer thinking, and it is a great space to, if you are aware that you're in theta when you're falling asleep, it's a great time to ask a question to your higher self. And if you haven't fallen asleep, you'll hear them. Trust what comes to you. It's going to just be a flow in your mind, or you can do it in the morning when it reverses. Okay? When you're waking up, you are in a deep sleep, you're in delta. And then you start to wake up, you start to hear the birds in the background. Now your mind goes into theta. Great time. It's like, oh my God, I'm in theta. Let me ask my higher self something, and, jump in there. You're not in theta very long, especially when you're waking up. So it's that really, really nice space to be in. And then you're going into alpha and you're waking up. So hypnosis is so natural. You guys do it every day. We just don't call it that, right? So there's absolutely nothing to fear.
Hope that helps. A great explanation. Yes. I think about my personal experience with how encouraging you were with like what you see, let it come, don't worry so much about your logic side, being like, oh, this doesn't make sense. Da, 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 da. I remember for me, when I was looking back and I could see where a ring had been, but it kind of confused me because I was like, wait, why would I, and that was my logic side of the brain being like, okay, clearly I'm in a time where you don't just chuck your wedding rings, so I had that moment of self-doubt, but then once again, with you leading me in that, and the next question was something like, okay, well, let's explore what's that situation there, basically. And we were able to find that out more. So it's trusting yourself just to be.
Yeah. And I saw that comment about historically, there's no divorce. Well, no one said that she divorced. She left the ring on the table. Her husband was never around. Sorry, George, but you just weren't. And, but men weren't back in those days. They were out working. And so she felt very abandoned and very alone. And the relationship changed and she left her ring and walked away. Now, when you say historically women didn't do that, I call bullshit on that because I've been doing this 23 years, okay? And I have regressed plenty of women that have been beaten and battered, okay, by their husbands, and they walk away. They do walk away, okay? maybe, regression isn't about, did you file for divorce? It's like, we don't do that. We don't ask those questions. That's not important. Okay. We are in these, you are guided to, okay. So like Rebekah can confirm, I'll tell her. Oh, and by the way, you can actually hear the entire session on my YouTube. Okay. I forgot to mention that. And so if you guys are interested in actually hearing the whole session, it's about an hour long. Actually, it's an hour and 11 minutes. 111. How about that? Okay. So I did post it on my YouTube, and honestly, guys, I don't have followers. I post things up and it gets very little views, but Rebekah graciously allowed me to post it on there. And so it's actually under my personal name, which is Mayra Rath. I don't know if you can type in, or my name is spelled Mayra, and then Rath. Mayra Rath. So you can jump on YouTube and check out Rebekah's entire session there.
I hope all of you enjoy my laying down in the darkness, because I'll be real, when I was editing the videos just for these 2 TikToks, I was like, wow, what a great angle I really set the camera up on. You get some nice under chin action there. It's very good.
Yeah. She was comfortable. That's I can see some people already jumping on YouTube. That's cool. Thanks, guys. Thanks for your support. Yeah.
They're like, give us the dirt. Give us the dirt on her past life. Yeah.
Yeah. And, and then I quickly want to tell you, because Rebekah's so good about putting together content, but she's also great at editing. And what you have to understand is, that last video that she put in, it sounds kind of fast, where I'm like, I say to her, I want you to look into your husband's eyes. Do you recognize him as someone that you know in your current life? She didn't answer right away. No. You'll notice that it takes time. This is a really gentle, I don't push, I don't force, I don't suggest. So it was so natural. And you can see on the video how she was quiet for a little while. And if you look at her face, you can see when she just starts to smile.
Yeah.
And she doesn't want to believe it. She doesn't want to believe it, because I was thinking, I know Rebekah has a partner. Maybe it's him, right? So who knew that she would recognize him? How it comes is when you ask that question, your higher self shows it to you. Your higher self will either show you a picture, okay? They'll just like bling, or they'll give you a name. You'll hear the name. And it's always the first answer. If you start to question it, you're bringing the ego in, we don't want the ego in there. So you must trust the first thought is always the right one.
And bouncing off of that, I definitely questioned a lot, because during that time, and it was funny watching myself, because you're exactly right. There was I felt like I was trying to shake my head, but I was so relaxed, it wasn't quite coming. But I remember being in the moment, and oh, I think I lost her. Well, friends, it's just us. But I'll tell you, because she already knows, I remember being in the moment, and like, I wanted to fight it, because I was just like, no, this is crazy. Like, this is too much. Like, this, no. And then finally I was like, I'm not getting any other answers. This is who it is. And that's what I said. I'm going to see if she's back online. Thanks everybody for joining, and thanks for the gifts. I do see them. So yeah, a rundown of what you missed. We just been talking past life regressions. Oh, thank you. Yay. Thanks for all the presents. I've been seeing them. I just didn't want to interrupt. Yeah. One of my past lives was married to one of George's past life. It's not his current life. Yeah, we're going to see if Mayra comes back on. But yeah, I've just been talking with her for the past little while. I'm going to see what time it is real quick. Oh my, what an awful picture to be paused on. There you are.
You went down. Was that, I don't, okay, it doesn't matter.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I maybe it's a TikTok thing, but basically, I explained a little bit on me trying to fight being told that it was George, and me being like, no, that's, come on, this is getting weird, you know, like this is getting, me having inner conversations with who I'm speaking to, basically. Yeah. But no, that was funny too. I'm glad that you reeled me back in, because during that part in the regression, like, you can, like, my hands are going, because I'm just like, stop, what?
Yeah, she was getting in her head.
Yeah,
she was judging it. And remember, your ego never goes away. Never. It's always there. It's always there to protect you. But you've got to put them in check. Otherwise, you'll unravel it. And she started spinning a little bit. She started spinning. She just didn't want to believe it. She was really fighting it. And I'm like, very quiet. I'm like, just trust it. Don't judge it. Just let it go. It's fine, you know? So that's important.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, here's a good question. Can anyone have a past life regression?
Yes. The answer is yes. Okay. Now, can everyone get through one? The answer is no. Not everyone can. Why do some, get through it and others don't? It's because you're putting out your own blocks. Fear, doubt, okay? And your intention. It's like, I get people writing me all the time, and it's like, I'm nervous. I've seen a few people post some things. It's like, I can't be hypnotized. Mm-hmm. Okay. So like I said, yes, first of all hypnosis is self-hypnosis. All of it. You are in control. You are in charge. So yes, everyone can hypnotize. It's so funny how I will do like little use your imagination. It's like, I'll tell them, close your eyes, picture a ball in your hand, and they'll close their eyes and picture it. Because some people say, I can't visualize. Well, they're visualizing a ball, it's like, you can. So I don't push anyone. I like to try to play these little games to get you to imagine things to help you. But everyone is able to be hypnotized unless you are blocking yourself. It's all in you. You are creating the blocks. You're not comfortable with it. You're just, I don't know what it is, but there are some people that just, but again, it's a handful, but those that can't, and maybe it's the wrong practitioner. Have I failed? Sure. I've done this long enough to know that, yeah, there have been some occasions, but I think it's not me. It's not me. I know it's their timing. They come, sometimes they have just a lot of stress in their life, a lot of stress. And some people come through here and they look so worked up. And so it's like, oh, whoa, whoa, take it down, take it down. And so timing also is so important. Timing, you need to really be in the right space. So, yeah. But people that say I can't be hypnotized, I have like even a meetup group online where I help people, just do these little exercises, and I'll take them through a little future regression or a little mini past life. And it's just starting out with small. If you start out with small and you're not doing this big session, I think if you work your way in, you'll be fine.
Yeah. Here's a question from one of my good friends. Hey, Alex.
Hi, friends.
The question is, and I think I know the answer is, but I would love to hear. what do you think about the use of psychedelics with hypnosis?
I've never done it. And I don't, first of all, I think the psychedelics will just take you on a trip. So why even use hypnosis? You use hypnosis. This modality is to get you to focus, right? But when you're on psychedelics, I don't think that you'll follow along. You're going to be tripping, right? So I don't think that would work.
And I almost wonder too, because I've read some studies on psychedelics, and it's one of the things that I was learning about is a study on LSD, and some people who had very deep fears or trauma were able to be released from that. But it was, once again, it was the trip that they went through on the psychedelic. I think the other side of that might be cultural practices, because I know some cultures that is a part of their spiritual practice. However,
like ayahuasca. Yeah, like that. Is that what you mean? Like have like that?
Yes, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But still, I think that would fall more under like the spiritualism side of it that can have a beneficial part of mental health. Whereas hypnotized or hypnosis is your brain being open to your brain, I guess.
Yeah. I'm not an expert at it. Personally, I've never done mushrooms or anything like that, so I can't really speak. I'm not, I've never done it before. But I probably wouldn't tap into that, as far as a client saying, hey, I want to try this and do, because hypnosis will get you there. So why combine the two? I think if you are on a trip, that alone is amazing from what I've heard, and a lot of healing can happen through that. I know people that have done ayahuasca numerous times to really help that inner child, that is hurting and bleeding, and it allows to just shed it and move through that. So but that was a great question. Yeah.
My friend's gonna be a doctor one day, just throwing that out there, in psychology. She's like amazing. She's still watching, but anyway.
So cool. One thing that I've just incorporated into my sessions is my light language, which I just feel so inspired to do it. And so after a session, I always prepare, like I prepared Rebekah for afterwards. The light language that I do is extremely healing. So light language are codes that will come to you, whatever it is that you need to feel. You don't understand it. It's a completely different language. And so I've incorporated it at the end of my sessions, which is really unique and so beautiful. I love to bless my clients at the end of a session with, I don't think I added that on the YouTube, because that might have been personal. That might have been, so I think I didn't add that, but I love transmitting light language when a session is over. It just helps to heal and to just let go of everything that you just saw and experienced. So
I thought that was a very unique kind of addition, because I remember being in it, and one, because I've seen some people ask questions on spirit guides. So I met another one of my spirit guides after this regression, which was fascinating. So you can do that. And I was lucky enough that, once again, it wasn't something I was, like, I want to do this regression to meet my spirit guide. No, it was just like, oh, hey, hi, you're here, Another person just asked, if you're on medication, can you do a regression? If the medication keeps you in good mental health, then you should stay on that.
Yeah,
to do
for
this.
Sure. Stay on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, stay on it. For sure.
Yeah. Another thing, I'm going to let you do another plug real quick, because I've got some people asking questions on like who you are and how to find you and that sort of thing. And I'm listening. I'm just going to pop up there real quick.
Yeah. All right, guys. Hi, everybody. I'm Myra with Soul Sign Hypnosis. And I had the pleasure of guiding Rebekah through her past life. And it was just so enjoyable. How you can find me on TikTok, obviously, is Soul Signs Hypnosis. On Instagram, it is the same, Soul Signs Hypnosis. It's really hard to cram in sessions in a minute. So you're going to see some part 1s, 2s, and 3s because they're so good, and it's hard. I know people want quick, fast, and it's really hard to pack everything in. So I really try to deliver good content, and thank you to all of my clients that allow me to share, these their sessions with the public. And it just makes it so interesting for others that want to, is like someone I think sent me something that they heard the Lyran session where with her channeling the Lyran guide and how she got emotional. It's like, there's a reason you do, there's certain things that you hear that you feel right in your heart. And chances are that's probably her home, what's called more of a home planet, which I am too, actually, a hybrid of Lyra. So yeah, a lot of discovery there. So anyway, Soul Signs Hypnosis and my website, soulsigns.net. And on YouTube, if you guys want to listen to Rebekah's full session, it is on my YouTube. My YouTube is my name, Myra, Mayra, and the last name Rath, Mayra Rath. And that's how you'll find it. And I posted it a few days ago. So have fun listening to the set. It was really incredible. You guys will love it.
Awesome. And I'm just going to answer a question real quick that I kind of keep seeing coming up. Oh, many people are like, thank you for sharing, like, this is great. So many people from my side have said how much they've loved hearing your thoughts and your wisdom and just everything. And one of the questions that I'm getting is, did George recognize me from the past life where we knew each other? To my understanding, I feel like no. However, there is another spirit in town who I have hinted to. I think he recognized me. P.S. For those of you who've watched the videos, this is Rupert. I'm going to go into him further. It's just, yeah.
Rupert. I don't know anything about Rupert.
I'll give you a teaser. Rupert is he was in the army. He was in the 82nd Regiment of the English Army that was in Wilmington during the United States Revolution. And I, either in his life, may have had a romantic connection with him, or in a very close, something about it. It was interesting. A friend of mine who is very gifted in being connected. He saw him walk up behind me, and he's like, "Who's your friend?" And I explained, and I was like, "Okay, is he wearing a red coat?" And he's like, "Okay, so that's Rupert." And then my friend looked at me and he said, "Do you know exactly how you know each other?" And he wasn't talking about this life. Yeah.
Okay.
So it was like, the need to explore a little bit on that.
I sense a new exploration for you.
Perhaps, yeah.
That would be fun.
I do sense really from both of us that there's some healing that needs to be done. And that's part of what I try and work on a spiritual nature, especially if I'm connecting with him, to be like, okay, let's talk about our emotions and validate them and recognize where we are right now and who we are. Yeah. Just me, you know, on a street corner being like, for a long period of time.
Yes.
But on that note, I mean, have you ever, in your experience, is like, would you even say that's possible to have someone like George that may not have recognized me from a past life? I don't think he did. And then somebody like Rupert who maybe recognized my soul. I don't know. I'm still learning.
Yeah, that's new. That's new to me as well. So I mean, this experience and this past life regression is extremely unique. Okay. But it just goes to show, you know, there are no limitations, you know, where we can go, what they will show us, and just know that they showed you exactly what you needed to see. And like I said earlier, your guides and your higher self, they have a sense of humor. They really do. And they do. Okay. So they do funny things sometimes. So it's pretty interesting. It's pretty interesting. You went exactly where you needed to go.
I agree. I came out enlightened, and certainly another fun story to add to this epic that has turned into George of the courthouse. So
yeah, and you know what, guys? It wasn't just the George thing. You know, that was just, but it's who Rebekah was. Let's talk about that. Okay. I mean, wow. When you go to YouTube and listen to it, honestly, she wowed me. The fact that she would travel and leave that ring and walk away from a marriage at that time. And what a teacher. She was so connected to her students. There's so much more depth in this past life that you guys are really hearing about. I know that this is all an amazing story with George, and it's the sweetest thing, and you know, everyone's excited about it, but there's so much more to it. And what she did, I mean, I don't know if you want to share, like, when you came to America to teach these children and how they took you in as one of your own. She ended up dying in the home of a student when the student grew up and had her own children. And this was a Black family. For a white woman to be embraced by a Black family back in the day, you know, I mean, it was a beautiful story. So there's so much more to share. I don't know how many parts you want to do, but yeah, there's a lot to unpack.
For sure. And chronologically speaking, I'm going to keep repeating this just because people keep asking. The George I left in Ireland died and is not the George of the courthouse. Like, they're the same soul, but there was a part of time that passed.
Yes.
So that's been a confusion for people. But yeah.
And let me touch on that because it can get confusing, okay? And let me just say, okay, we're all here, right? We are us, okay? We have our higher self that is connected, okay? And our higher selves are connected to all the other higher selves, to source. Our higher selves know every single experience, every lifetime we have ever lived. Okay. So what I want to say is your consciousness is not just having an experience. Like my higher self, I am living as Myra, right? Well, my higher self is saying, okay, well, I'm having another experience, you know, in that other timeline. There are multiple, that you're split off, other timelines, parallel lives where there's other yous. I mean, this could be a whole other live to talk about. And this is big, you guys, very, very big. But your consciousness is not just having an experience in my life. That would be boring. Okay. It's like, I go to sleep. It's like, what does my higher self do? no, no, no. The higher self is, they are managing so much more. So, and why George decided to stay, it's like, that's his journey. That's his journey. But his consciousness is moving into there's other places that George's consciousness is at, for sure. I hope that makes sense.
Yes, to the best of my understanding. Okay. I know there are going to be people on here being like, what?
Yeah.
But yeah.
I know, guys. I know.
So somebody said, wouldn't it be wild if you could look up your own obituary from a past life? So I have two things for that. One is some people can, and I know some people you've had sessions with certainly did. Yes. My particular life that I went back to, I don't believe there's an obituary, and the grave that I may have been buried in might have been lost to time. I know I was very poor in money, but I was very rich in love. And I know that sounds like a cop out. Somebody out there is going to be like, but here's the thing. That life cycle that I lived, I could tell that I was born into money. As a woman, I was taught to read, that my husband was wealthy. When I think about leaving the ring on the table, it wasn't out of a dramatic gesture. It was to say, I recognize that this is worth something, and I recognize that it's not mine. So, I don't want to steal. And also, where was I going with this? I don't think that this particular past life would have an obituary, because many of the people that I was surrounded by in that past life, I even wonder if they had a paper at their, some kind of public source. I mean, it would have had to be a Black-owned and distributed paper, because my entire community is working with the Reconstruction movement. Was, it was all encompassing. It like at first with the regression too, I thought about it and I was like, oh no, am I one of those like white missionaries that went down and stole culture? But then when I saw the pictures around me, and I saw being taken in by families and spending late nights, with candles lit and trying to teach formerly enslaved people how to read. Like, I wasn't going to a white church. I wasn't I wasn't being upheld by some kind of like white saviorist standard. I think I was just trying to be the best person that I could be. And for me, that meant, if being embraced, to allow myself to live amongst, not live this idea and be like, oh, well, all of you enjoy where you're living, I'm going back into town. No, it was the feeling that I got was I was with them. Like, that was my family.
Yeah. Yes. And the blankets.
All the blankets. Oh my goodness. That was lovely. You're referring to, I was watching as I was about to pass.
The day you were dying. The day you were dying.
And it was a very peaceful passing, and it was like the family knew that I was cold and there were children. And I remember looking, and I have this little what is it? It's like the cornstalk doll that had been handmade and hand painted. And it was one of the girls. It was one of the little girls. And she was like, this will bring you comfort. And then I had all the blankets on me because the whole family had pitched in to make sure that I was warm. And like, I remember seeing that in the regression, and I got so emotional because I was like, this is so wonderful that they would do this for me and allow my passing to be smooth and as painless as possible. Like, I remember getting choked up because I was like, this is wonderful.
Yes. Yeah. But usually in a regression, the last day of your life is quite touching, very, very touching, and you're feeling all kinds of things. So, it was beautiful. I mean, the whole thing was great. I just wanted to touch on the entire session as a whole.
Yeah.
How amazing you were, right? Yeah. Does it surprise you you were a teacher?
No, my mom's a teacher. If like I still teach kids. I have done a lot of work in inner city schools and with the Boys and Girls Club. Teaching both tutoring in reading as well as artistic pursuits. So yeah, that I was not surprised at all. I was like, of course.
Yeah, it was great.
But I was gonna say, I believe we're at time.
Okay.
Thank you so much for joining and for leading me through that regression. Do you want to give just another plug one more time so that people know where to find you?
Yes, guys. If you want to listen to Rebekah's entire session, it's on my YouTube channel. It's an hour and 11 minutes. It's really great if you want to do that. The YouTube is under my personal name, Mayra Rath, and it's spelled Mayra, and my last name is Rath. And visit me at Soul Sign Hypnosis on TikTok and Instagram, my website, soulsigns.net. Thank you all for joining us today.
All right. And thank you for joining me. Folks, I hope that you will follow her and get yourself a regression because my experience was so wonderful. So thank you so much again. And I look forward to speaking with you
next
some other
time.
Right, bye.
Next time. Bye, everybody.